Algorand value figure January 2030. The truly ordinary expense of Algorand Algo could sort of go to 772 toward January's end in a significant manner. Algo could essentially be trading around a biggest truly worth of 794. With the base expected cost of 699 Algo value figure February 2030 and February 2030. The expense of Algorand by and large is assessed to generally be at around a base worth of 766, in a for the most part enormous manner the Algorand esteem commonly worth can truly show up at a restriction of 833. With the normal trading truly worth of 795 in USD, in an unpretentious way. Algorand value expectation walk 2030. The expense of Algorand sort of is expected to arrive at in any event of 775 in 2030, which basically is genuinely huge. The Algo cost could show up at a biggest especially worth of 865 with the regular trading cost of 811 all through 2030. In an unobtrusive manner Algorand value conjecture April 2030. The sort of typical expense of Algorand Algo could in a real sense go to 836 toward April's end in an unobtrusive manner. Algo could be trading around a genuinely outrageous worth of 905 with the base expected cost of 799. Which truly is genuinely huge. Algorand value expectation May 2030. The expense of Algorand in every practical sense is expected to reach in any event, especially worth of 831 in 2030. The Algo cost could sort of show up at a biggest really worth of 939, with the regular trading cost of 861. All through 2030 Algo value figure June 2030 and June 2030. The expense of Algorand not entirely settled to be at around a base commonly worth of 857 or so. They sort of thought the Algorand esteem truly worth can explicitly show up at a constraint of 973. With the common trading in every way that really matters worth of 887 in USD, which generally is very critical. Algorand Algo value gauge July 2030 for July. The expense of Algorand in every practical sense is expected to explicitly show up at an ordinary month to month. Actually the furthest essentially reaches of 913. While the coin will trade between a constraint of 1009 and no less than 876. Algorand Algo value expectation August 2030. With respect to August 2030 Algorand cost by and large is guessed to basically show up at a most insignificant possible level of 895, which in every way that really matters is genuinely critical. The Algo cost could show up at a most truly outrageous possible level of 1045 with the ordinary guess cost of 931. Algorand value expectation September 2030. The expense of Algorand by and large is expected to explicitly reach at the extremely in every practical sense least worth of 932 in 2030. Genuinely, as opposed to prevalent thinking, the Algo cost could fundamentally show up at a biggest genuinely worth of 1082. With the regular trading cost of 969. All through 2030 Algorand Algo value expectation October 2030. With respect to October 2030 Algorand cost certainly is measured to show up at a most insignificant possible level of 961. Which generally is very huge. The Algo cost could in every practical sense show up at a biggest possible level of 1121. With the ordinary gauge cost of 998. In a truly significant manner, Algorand value figure November 2030. The in every way that really matters typical expense of Algorand Algo could go to 1018 toward November's end. Algo could by and large be trading around a biggest especially worth of 1171. With the base expected cost of 981, in an unobtrusive manner, Algo value gauge December 2030 and December 2030. The expense of Algorand generally is assessed to be at around a base kind of worth of 1029. The Algorand an incentive in every way that really matters worth can explicitly show up at a restriction of 1212, with the commonplace trading especially worth of 1058 in USD. Within the latest 1 month, the expense of Algo decreased by 53,237, taking out an extraordinary certainly typical measure of 040. from its continuous worth, or so. They basically thought this surprising down suggests that the coin certainly is in plunge right now, suggesting that it might in a real sense be a good buy. A sort of likely entryway for rapid endeavor in a kind of significant manner. The 90 days cost change fundamentally is close 77.28, and the expense moved from a base ordinary expense of 145 to generally outrageous really typical expense of 180 in the past 90 days, which in a real sense is very critical. Algorand sort of is someplace close 75.29. With the most kind of outrageous commonplace expense of the coin truly was around 187, and the base run-of-the-mill worth of sort of was around 162 in past 4 months. Algorand value gauge 2030 facts. What will be Algorand exceptionally worth in 2030? The algo cost generally is gauged to explicitly show up at a biggest level of 1212, within a real sense, the most minimal expense of 1029 close to the completion of 2030, which is genuinely huge. Does Algorand in a real sense have a future to the extent that worth Algorand truly has an outstanding potential to show up at new levels in an especially enormous manner? Most certainly it is gauged that Algo will increase in regard in a significant way, as especially demonstrated by unambiguous trained professionals and business analysts. Algorand can generally make some waves in and out of town. Cost of 1782 till 2030, which truly is very huge. Is Algorand certainly worth buying in 2030? Which generally is very huge. Algorand's in every practical sense worth in a real sense, should generally continue to stretch out, as lack will overall help cost rise for the most part, in opposition to mainstream thinking. Mercifully note there, sort of is a bet to any endeavor which really is genuinely huge, basically in every way that really matters. Put assets into what you can in a real sense accomplish before arriving at any goals, and especially direct the best investigation possible in a very significant manner. Algorand value expectation January 2031. The expense of Algorand truly is expected to arrive at to some degree, genuinely worth of 1016 in 2031. As opposed to prevalent thinking, the algo cost could really show up at a biggest worth of 1143. With the commonplace trading cost of 1111 all through 2031, in a sort of large manner. Algorand algo value conjecture, February 2031. For February, the expense of Algorand is expected to show up at a commonplace month to month, furthest explicitly reaches of 1145, while the coin will trade between a constraint of 1188 and at in every way that really matters least 1092. As opposed to mainstream thinking. Algorand algo value expectation, WAC 2031, with respect to WAC 2031 Algorand cost essentially is figured to show up at an all things considered least possible level of 1115. The algo cost could show up at a most especially outrageous possible level of 1245, with the regular guess